Nothing makes me lose faith in humanity more than the comment section on a viral video. Last summer, I was able to go to the Milwaukee Pipeline event, and I posted this clip right here that I took at the show, and it went crazy viral on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Millions and millions of views on all of them. And let me just tell you, the more eyeballs and views something gets, the crazier comments you get, and it's kind of shocking. So I thought we'd have some fun with this video and go over some of those comments, and a lot of them were about the validity of the demo, Milwaukee rigging it. And now that I actually have the sander here in my shop, I'm gonna go through and set up that demo and film me doing it, and we'll see. Did Milwaukee rig that? I don't think they did. These companies have ethics, standards, and there's marketing laws around that type of thing, but I didn't set that up, so I can't 100% say. But what are they trying to show us in that display? They're trying to illustrate how much vibration is passed from the sander up into your hand. And if you don't think that's a big deal, then all I can say is you haven't spent a full day with a sander in your hand, because believe me, I have, and it can leave your arm numb and tingling for a long time. And there are several comments on there. Guys have nerve damage and harm to their bodies from this stuff. So just to address the be a man, this new Milwaukee sander must be for sissies, you got soft hands type comments, it's just all crap. Let's think about this differently. How many 60, 70-year-olds are out there and their bodies are just absolutely beat down and destroyed from being in the trades their whole life? How many 16, 17, 18-year-old kids are gonna see that and be like, sign me up for that. I wanna do that and destroy my body. Not many. And there's no secret, there's a huge labor shortage of people wanting to get into trades, build stuff, fix stuff. And so these advancements in these tools, I think, is so important to make it easier on our bodies. I used this corded DeWalt sander here in the shop specifically for years. This is probably my third one. Use it, burn it up, run to Home Depot, get a new one right off the shelf. They're cheap. And I upgraded and bought a lot of tools here in the shop before I upgraded my sander. And let me just tell you, I got one of the Festool sanders. When I came home and unboxed this and turned it on, I physically laughed out loud on how stupid I was. For as much as I personally use a sander, now upgrading to a high-end one sooner, it's stupid. The difference, not only in performance, but just on how comfortable it is to use, night and day difference. So what sander did Milwaukee paint gray to compare their new sander to? A lot of people thought it was Craftsman or Hercules from Harbor Freight, but it is the cordless DeWalt sander that they're using in spray painted gray. And let me just tell you to remove any bias that you think I might have, because this could be a positive video for Milwaukee, or it could be a really bad one if I'm able to prove that they did rig that. But I'm not paid by any of them, so this was my favorite cordless sander that I use. I originally bought the Ridgid battery sander, and honestly, right out of the box, I think there was something wrong with it, because honestly, hands down the worst power tool I've ever bought, period. But from there, I got the DeWalt and the original Milwaukee cordless sander at the same time, and the DeWalt was far superior, way better in my opinion, so that's the one I chose to keep and use. And someone commented, and I agreed, why didn't they just use their original one to compare the new one to? I had the same thought, because to me, this is far superior than their old one. So let's go ahead and debunk some things where literally all we have to do is open our eyes before leaving a comment. A lot of people said he didn't even turn the Milwaukee on. Well, I'll try to zoom in. You can see the pad spinning on the sander, and you can see the light on the back of the tools on. Secondly, it was the DeWalt must be on the highest speed setting and the Milwaukee's on the lowest, but you can look and see in that video, the light all the way on. From your perspective, the left side of the tool, the light is on. And then when I pan over and show another sander, you can see that is number 5, highest speed setting, both of them were on. The next two huge controversies that I can't answer for sure because I didn't set up that display, one being the liquids, that they're different. One is oil and one is grape juice, or just one is thicker than the other. A lot of these people leaving these comments, I don't think they know that food coloring exists, honestly. It was just St. Patrick's Day a couple weeks ago, that green beer, it's food coloring. So if I were to guess, it's just water. They used red food coloring to match the Milwaukee red, and purple is just the closest thing they had to gray. That's all I would guess, but I'm gonna know for sure because I'm gonna use the exact same fluids and same color in the display that I set up. Next, it's that the Milwaukee has way more glue on it. So first of all, in my display, I'm gonna measure out and use the exact same amount of glue. But to me, it looks like they used just hot glue. And a lot of people think that that must absorb a lot of the vibration, but I don't know. Hot glue gets, it gets pretty hard. So I want you to think about this differently. If the Milwaukee has more glue, that means it's gonna have more surface contact. If I turn this on and put my finger on it, and then I put my whole hand on it, I'm gonna feel more of the vibration with my whole hand because there's more surface contact. So I'm not saying Milwaukee does or does not have more glue, I don't know. But if it does, and there's more surface contact on the bottle, to me, I think that would transfer more of the vibration. But that's just kind of my thinking and a different way to think about it, but I don't know for sure until I set it up myself. All right, let's go ahead and get our bottles ready. I think I was able to find the same size and shape from that video. The only problem is these are Blackstone seasonings, the only thing I could find like this. So I got the holes sealed up here in the lids. I'm gonna use some plumbing thread tape to hopefully seal it up enough so they don't leak, at least so we can run this test. Now again, I have no clue what Milwaukee actually used in that demo, but I'm just gonna use water. And again, it doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same as what they had because I'm gonna use the same for both sanders here, guaranteed. So nothing tricky going on. And I'm actually just gonna use green food coloring for both of them. And I'm gonna mix it in this bottle first and then just pour it in the jars. One thing that's going to be different about my test is I'm going to go ahead and put tape on my tools because these are my actual tools that I don't want to ruin because I'm using this construction grade glue stick. That's all I have. So yeah, don't want to ruin my tools. But again, I'm doing the same thing to both of them. So. I'm gonna try to use the same amount of glue for both of them. So as you can see, I can't pull this glue stick out, but it's right to where it won't push any further. So I'm gonna plan on just using a whole glue stick for each sander. So then I'll just run this through and then I'll just stop whenever it's at that same length and then I'll run it again. To me, I think the most important thing when getting these glued on here is that the water is as level as possible in both directions, because these sanders are different shapes. So I might have to put the glue on differently. But again, I'm going to use the same amount. I just think it's most important that the water is level. I definitely did not need a full glue stick, so I put a lot on there. But there's exactly 2 3/8 left. So go ahead and pump this out, and then I'll put a new stick in and run that till there's 2 3/8 sticking out the back. Okay, it's back to where we were with the first one. All right, that was kind of a pain in the butt getting these strings tied up and getting them on here perfect and level, but I think we're all set to go. They're both on the highest speed settings, 7 on the DeWalt and 5 on the Milwaukee, which is the same OPM, oscillations per minute. 12,000 on both of them for the highest speed settings, so those are the same. So here we go. Did Milwaukee rig that tool demo? Not much there. Oh. I don't know what else to do. This is as apples to apples comparison as it gets. The same size battery, both 5 amp hour, both on the highest speed, same amount of water, same food coloring poured out of the same bottle, same amount of glue on both of them, paracords in the same spot, both the same distance from the top here. Yeah, I don't know. This is as apples to apples as it gets, and clearly I think it's safe to say that Milwaukee did not rig that demo like so many people said, but I don't want to stop here. I want to keep going, run some more tests and go over some more of the comments. A lot of people said that demo proves nothing, and well, it does. It's showing how much vibration is passed from the tool up into your hand, illustrated by a bottle of water. Most importantly, with zero human interaction on it. You might think it might be better to actually put the tools down on a table and do some sanding with it. But in terms of shooting a video of a demo like that, I think that's where you could introduce more of a rigged claim or just more of a human element depending on where you hold the tool, how much pressure you're putting down. You could claim, oh, we have 60 grit on one and 320 grit on the other, stuff like that. So in terms of a video display, I think that was a better way to do it. I fully expect to put this down on the table and this water is going to vibrate more, but I fully expect this to vibrate more too. It might be hard to tell because the water was already shaking pretty bad, but let's go ahead and turn them on and we'll see. So yeah, that water is vibrating more than when it was up in the air. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you know, like I said, it was already bad how it was. I can sit here and definitely tell you that this is vibrating my hand a lot less. That's kind of like a trust me bro type of thing, but I want to go ahead and actually pop these bottles off and do some actual sanding. Performance-wise, these both say they're a 3/30 seconds orbit. I believe that's about a 2.5, 3 millimeter orbit. And on the highest setting, both 12,000 OPM. So performance-wise, hypothetically, they should be the same. Performance-wise, actually sanding, I couldn't tell a huge difference in terms of sanding. The pencil line one wasn't way faster than the other, and spec-wise they're the same, so they hypothetically should perform the same. And as far as I could tell, they do. You know, the Milwaukee definitely less vibration. I feel like it bounces less. You know, it's smoother, easier to control. And from there, it's just personal preference. You know, this is a pretty big grip on here. And this is closer to my Festool that I use for hours on end. So I'm really used to that and I like it. Feels really good to me. But like I already mentioned, this was my favorite cordless sander before this came out. So, you know, I highly recommend this. They perform, as far as I can tell, close to the same. It's just all the comfort things after that. I didn't really want to keep comparing this to the DeWalt sander, but Milwaukee did, so I guess we'll keep it going. But just talking specifically about the new design of the Milwaukee, a lot of people, said it's a stupid, horrible design, all the weights in the back. But honestly, it's very similar to the Festool that I'm very familiar with and use all the time. With that shape and actually with a hose, you can see, you have to hold the hose up so you're not putting uneven pressure on. Actually a lot more than just having a battery on there. I just have 2 amp hour batteries on both of these. Obviously no issue at all. Switching over to 5 amp hour batteries on both of them. You can see the Milwaukee actually somehow is balanced better. Jumping up to 6 amp hours on both of them. And that's the tipping point. Well, tipping point on that too. And you still see the Milwaukee is actually tipping slower, so it's still slightly better balanced. So yeah, it's not any worse, that's for sure. If anything, it's still slightly better balanced, even having this off the back. And to me, that's just an extension of your arm. There's a lot of sanders now with this shape. It's not like you can't put it into tighter spaces or anything because your arm is still here anyway. But yeah, it's not a terrible design like a lot of people think. One last comparison between the two. Of course, we always got to consider price. That's important. I'll put links to both of these down in the video description. Prices change. There's always different promotions and stuff like that. But as of right now, filming this, I just looked. At Home Depot, you can order this for $199, and it comes with a 5 amp hour battery. And the DeWalt is $130 bare tool. So a little bit more, but you do get the battery with it. And using those links down in the video description, I'm able to earn a few bucks off that, and I really appreciate that. Helps support the channel, helps me make these videos. So if you're interested in either one of them, check those links out. But a lot of people say, compare this to the Festool cordless sander, and that's twice the price of this one. So these are close enough. I still think it's a fair comparison. One more feature to highlight on the Milwaukee is this vac link. This is going to wirelessly connect to their cordless dust extractor that they have coming out via Bluetooth. So that's a feature that this has that the other one doesn't. And that's really awesome to be able to, when you press the button, turn the sander on, your dust extractor is going to turn on at the same time. One more common comment I see a lot is that cordless sanders are just pointless. And if you're sitting here watching and thinking that, then for you, it is. It's just plain and simple. There's guys out there using a tool all day, every day that I will never use. Just because you don't think you will use it doesn't mean there's not a huge market out there for it still. Here in the shop, I'm always going to use my corded sander with a vacuum hooked up. But for me personally, I can go use this right now. I need to sand and repaint the window trim on the second floor of my house, up on a ladder. A cordless sander is going to be awesome for that. And that's just one thing out of many that I use these for. I think I'll go ahead and call it there. It was fun doing something a little different here. If you want some more entertainment, find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Find that original clip and read through some of those comments now, especially now that we proved a lot of them wrong. It's a good time on there, but until next time, take care.